Yo, what up?
Hi, Drew. What's good, sir?
What up? What up? What up? What's the quiet box? What's up with everybody? What up? What up? I just dropped in. If you're not in LA, shout out to you. If you're in LA, you know what we doing. What up, young John Robinson?
Yo, what's good, G?
You know. When we have these conversations, we go into some official hip hop shit. I'll be like, "Where's John Robinson?
I
What are you
love
about
it.
to say?" You know,
No,
even though you really East Coast biased, I felt like this is a perfect day.
Don't start that.
You know what I mean?
but that's not true though.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's not true. I got real West Coast fans, so it's yeah, you one of them. So
I am what I want to, but we got all the most bias. We got Glasses Malone, East Side bias, AC alone, hip hop bias. You got goddamn
are you?
Rob, Belizean bias.
I'm as much East Coast bias or East Side bias as you are West Coast bias.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh well, you just said a lot. You just indicted yourself, bro, because I'm 1,000% biased.
That's not true because you wouldn't be having this conversation.
You know, I still fuck with it though. What up, H1?
Hey, yo, for this conversation, since we're talking about the Lyricist Lounge and, its inception was in New York, I think it's okay to be East Coast bash for this particular conversation. I'm just
Y'all
saying.
motherfuckers funny as shit. First of all, I live
What up,
on both
Glasses?
sides.
Exactly.
We are definitely.
Wait, who was that?
Who's what? What up, Badru?
That's
Who's
Aunt,
that
that's
talking right there?
What's
Aunt
happening,
Martha,
sir?
bro.
I didn't know you was in here. What's up,
I'm
Brody?
both sides, bro. I'm both sides all day. No bias at all.
It's actually the triangle, right? Because ATL fits in
Right?
there too.
And I'm
So
in
it's
Atlanta
a
now. Look
triangle.
at that.
Yeah, it's like a pyramid.
Absolutely, man. Nah, but shout out to you, Badru. Thanks for putting this together. Thanks for all of y'all putting this shit together. I'm looking forward to the conversation. JE, you already know. Glad to see y'all working together. And just man, I'm really happy to have this convo. So whenever y'all ready, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. Hey, but just on an awkward, I just gotta ask this. I know this is not like the where the theme is going, but when I have like my gangster rap homies, I gotta ask. So Glasses, did you know what Lyricist Lounge was back in the day, or did you get onto it after?
Yeah, I knew
Not
what
to
it
put you
was.
on the spot like that, you know
It
what
was
I mean?
all good. Yeah, I knew what it was. I'm
Yeah.
aware. Yeah. I mean, we didn't really.
I mean, I know
We
you
really
on
didn't.
both sides. I didn't mean to
Yeah,
throw
we
you in
really.
there
No,
like
it's
that,
all
but
good. We really didn't fuck with it. Like, there ain't really like this ain't really the culture for it. But yeah, I was aware when I started rapping and I started kind of taking it more serious. I started finding out about all the rap places that the rappers go. But before that, no.
yeah.
You wouldn't have called me before I started rapping. You wouldn't have called me dad in no place like that.
And no hip hop spot, like no open mic.
Well, when you say hip hop, right, it's like that's a whole
That's why I
nother
switched to open
conversation.
mic.
Yeah. That's why I say
That's why
nah.
I switched.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have been
Okay.
nowhere with no nigga was just rapping that. Like that ain't really flavor. That ain't culture out here. You know what I mean? That's like you in New York niggas is rapping with like out here is more the other shit is the culture.
But what about Good Life
too.
back in them days? Was Good Life
And I
seen the
rap that
same way?
all that shit was like not seen like that is not culture. Like that ain't really that was like the West Coast niggas that wanted to be East Coast niggas.
What? See, that's the gangster thought on the shit. So
Not the
did you feel
gangster,
like the
not the
gangster shit
gangster
was
rap.
like hip hop shit?
Well, okay, so like it's crazy. I had this conversation with Polly Rob when I came back. Like I took a pilgrimage all the way back east and just really got it together. And I realized like at the origin of hip hop, I mean, you start talking about like where in the Bronx, how all the shit played out. It was really the way niggas got down in the streets. So the way they got out in the streets is what they do, but somehow along the line, it just became rapping. You know what I mean? It just became about rapping. It wasn't about no longer the culture that you rapped about. It became just rapping as some kind of culture. So yeah, like nah, it never felt like that. Not like I rap at a few of them places. I went to the one at Lamert Park and rapped. I went to a few of those places when I started rapping, but before I was a rapper, I wouldn't have been caught dead at that shit. Nah, not even a little bit.
Okay. I just always ask. So, J.E., do your spinner? I just always ask that because I always wonder how, it's curious how our different parts of hip hop interact with one another or not. You know what I mean? So it's just always crazy. But it's good. It's good to have Aunt Marshall on. I know personally, as I got into Lyricist Lounge, I was way more curious about what it was because I knew we had what I knew from here. We had Project Flow, we had Good Life, we had, basically that's all we had at one point. So to me, I thought it was dope just seeing the similarities in the two and the bigger the differences in the two because they didn't just seem like the same to me. I don't think all the indie scenes are the same. I think if you into it, you know that they nuancely different and they probably vastly different the more you into it. So I would start by asking, like, Ant, when you came into doing Lyricist Lounge, were you guys the only ones doing it at this time? Like, how early were you guys on the East?
Well, when we came in to, really getting into the showcases, it was 91, September 91. Before that, there were kind of, I guess there were open mics, but not things that were really fully branded. It was just kind of, you just knew that you could pull up and jump on a mic if you knew the DJ or whatever. There were other showcases like this joint called R&B Live. Renee McLean, who was big into all the kind of DJ programs or whatever, and Kirk Burrows, who ended up being president of Bad Boy. They used to do a showcase called R&B Live, and so we kind of, mirrored a lot of what we were doing off of them. But what I will say, even before we go deeper in, I love the way you started the convo. Quite honestly, I love the perspective. Glass, to shout out to you. What's happening? I think it is very interesting, and we could go into that later, like in terms of how the difference between what people see as hip hop versus gangster rap, and the differences there. The differences in terms of like the cultural differences. Because even though folks may have seen the lounge on some backpack shit, ultimately, we really allowed everybody on stage. So Biggs starred, and whether it was Big Pun or MOP or whoever the fuck was in our audience, that was on their own street shit. We've always kind of represented all of it. Mobb Deep at 16, 17 years old, you name it. Ultimately, it did get more into the penmanship of it all, really being about lyricists, folks who were really trying to take their penmanship somewhere and really get out the streets, you know what I'm saying? But, a lot of those early days, you're talking early 90s in New York, I'm not one who's going to proclaim being a gangster, but at the end of the day, it was what it was. The activity was out there heavy. And, for you to even be a fucking club kid, for you to even go to a club, like you had to be somebody that had some real, I ain't going to say credibility, but you had to have some real balls in you. You know what I'm saying? To get dressed up in $500 worth of polo and then fucking truck it out to the clubs in New York City, come back home at 4 a.m. while you 16 years old. You know what I'm saying? So, I think these conversations are good because I think a lot of times.
You on mute, yo.
Okay, pardon. So I said, yeah, a lot of times there's a perception based on the music that's heard, or whatever artists that are put up that people are a certain way. But ultimately, man, like we all come from where we come from. Some of us just kind of choose to take a different route, so that we're not perpetuating the same old thing. But yeah, early days of Lyricist Lounge, early 90s, there were a few things going on, but we really took it to the next level of really branding it and really making sure that this shit was for hip hop, for underground artists, because you couldn't really get a club back in those days, not for hip hop. But yeah, Jay, so you as host, how we gonna do this? You know, I'm used to being the host. I will take this shit over. Please let me know how you want to run this shit. Cause
No,
I'm
that's
here
what
to
that's
chop it up.
that's why we brought in John Robinson and Bedru. We got him in the building. We got some other people that's going to be joining the conversation a little bit later. But this is what's Lyricist Lounge's impact on hip hop culture. And what we really want to do, I would like to go into how it all got started. For those that don't know, I think you kind of went out a little bit, but kind of like break down what was Lyricist Lounge and your thought process behind co-founding it.
At the time we were young, we were still, you know, I started going to nightclubs at 14 years old. And so it was for us, it was almost just carrying on tradition. We were used to going to nightclubs. You know, I was going to high school, Julia Richmond High School, with Big L and Mos Def at the time. And, you know, Danny was friends with Talib Kweli. Danny's the co-founder of Lyricist Lounge. We've been friends since 16, 15 years old. And so,
Shout out Danny Castro.
yes, sir. He's in Mexico right now doing it up. But yeah, we were always street kids. We were already club kids. And so we had already had like 2-3 years in the industry of going out. We knew what a promoter was. We knew you had to find out who the manager was for the club to get in the club or rent the club. So we had done a lot of the groundwork. And yeah, man, it was really, we had a mentor. Like, we were fucking up. You know, I was down with the low lifes at the time. We were stealing clothes. We got caught, you know, several times. And after one little, you know, stupid move, you know, we got locked up for 2 weeks in juvenile and juvie. And, you know, while there, it was like coming to our senses, like, yo, we can't keep doing this shit. We got to do something different. And when we came out, we linked with, you know, a mentor that was a friend of a friend, Charles Thompson, and he had a space. He had a space in the Lower East Side. He's like, look, I'm not using it. If you want to invite some young people, you can, and I'll invite some music industry people, and let's see what happens. And literally, we've run that same play like over and over and over again. But it's evolved from so many things. Obviously, we're talking 30-something years right now. We're still elevating the brand into new areas and still doing it. But yeah, those early days, we really didn't know what the fuck we were doing. It was just like, we knew a lot of niggas. We were dancers. We were tired. Honestly, that was it. We were dancers. We were tired of being the dancers. We were tired of being in the background. Saw a lot of people getting deals and was like, you know what? We could do this shit too. You know, I was in a group called Figures of Speech. That was a part of the whole Ziggy movement. Ziggy was signed to Polygram. It was Salam Remy's first album. We did the album in Salam Remy's bedroom at 16, 17 years old. So a lot of it was like, all right, let's step up. You know what I mean? Like, it's time for us to be artists as well.
That's crazy you guys have Figures of Speech because I'm sure anybody who went to the Good Life back in the days when you said that was like, oh shit, Figures of Speech. Figures of Speech in the Good Life times was Ava DuVernay's rap group.
Oh wow.
Oh shit.
Her, John, and I forget the other girl. Mm-hmm. She's from the Good Life, and her rap group was Figures of Speech. Her, Giant, and I forget the name of the other young lady, but that's funny.
I think
Wow,
it's
I didn't even know that.
important to I think it's important too to clarify too that the Lyricist Lounge is not an actual place or building that someone went only. You know what I'm saying? Like, meaning there's a lot of people I talk to who've never been to a lounge and they think it's a place. They think it's just like this one place that you just go to. And it's like, nah, you know. So, and I wanted to ask you, in terms of the lounge, you know, the upcoming, you just talked about literally like the first joint, how the first show started, etc. Talk about moving from there to like the venues. Like, me personally, at that time, I was too young to pull up. I didn't really start coming literally to the lounge until the Tramps era. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
man, that's a funny transition. Yeah, we were so 1991. We're at a space called on 45 Orchard Street. It's our own little loft space. We could hold like 40 people, and we got the Bush Babies, Adolf the Assassin,
saying?
Scott Free, who ended up being A&R at Loud. Mos Def, Kweli, the Mop Tops, legendary house music dances throughout New York. And so from after that era, we really packed the spot out within maybe a couple of months. After that, it was like we had to move. And the first spot, so we were going to clubs and shit, and there was a club called the Mars, and it was a legendary club in the city. We threw some people, found some people, found out who we could talk to and convinced them. We told them about what we had, and they were the first venue. At that time, it was called the Muse. So we got into the Muse and started continuing doing open mics, and it was a lot to learn. Doing something in a loft is way different than doing it in a club. Mind you, we're still fucking 16, 17 years old. After that, it was like, okay, we want to go to an even more established venue. And that's always been like what's in us. It's always been like, how can we do something bigger? How can we do something bigger? How can we perfect what we have? How can we not be seen as just this little underground thing? How can we not be seen as just these little young teenagers? And so following R&B Live, they were at the Village Gate. So we went to the Village Gate. And it was funny because we didn't know what we were doing. We still young. We knew this one white boy who was a drummer. Yeah, he was an Italian drummer with a ponytail. And I always tell the story, but because it was slick, it was like we thought we were slick. And we were like, look, bro, we need you to come with us. We're going to this meeting at this club. We're trying to get it. Do you have a suit? He's like, a fucking suit? What do you mean? We're like, yeah, do you have a suit? It's like, yeah, I got a suit. So dude puts on it, wears the suit, shows up to the meeting, and acts as our lawyer. You know what I mean? And that was, it was a funny thing because we weren't even old enough to get in the club, but we finessed it. And at the end of the day, they pulled us to the side. They were like, look, all right, we're going to let you do it. But you know what I mean? Don't come in here with fake lawyers and shit like that. We already know that's not your lawyer. But that's how we got into our first real spot. And that ended up being the launch party for Bad Boy in 1993, hosted by Big and Puff.
Wow.
That's crazy.
No, that's an entry point into like making it real now, like, wow. And I shouldn't say real like it wasn't real before, but just, yeah, it just opened it to a whole new tier once that sparked off.
For the people who weren't like doing shit in that era, did you encounter, and I did, anybody else who promote might know something about this, but were you encountering like venues saying shit like, because at that time they really didn't know what hip hop was and they really didn't want it there for what they knew, them saying shit like, you got to have fucking hip hop insurance or fucking different type of performance insurances that you knew for a fact like they wasn't charging everybody? Did you run into a lot of like business obstacles that just were put there just because it was hip hop?
Yeah, absolutely. They always ask, not always, but once in a while we would get that question about insurance, and just like you, we probably were like, no, we don't have none. And ultimately they would just end up going with us because they realize we're two young kids, we're two young promoters. We're not gonna have insurance as a promoter. Most people don't in terms of parties and shit like that. So, but yeah, they would always put us through the ringer, man. Ultimately, nobody really believed in the culture. We would go around the sponsors and shit. I remember going to Jinko Jeans and all these different motherfuckers. And, remember that shit?
Yeah, I remember
because remember we were going to Magic too. We went to Magic for 7 years back to back. ASR, we launched Echo Unlimited.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a lot. And real quick, can y'all hear me well? Because it feels like it's going in and out.
Yeah,
all right, cool.
Record super crispy.
All right, cool. So yeah, we were calling all these people trying to raise investment, and yeah, the thing was, hip hop is a fad, and at the same time, our culture was cutting shit up. Every time there was a Mobb Deep event, someone was getting chopped up or something was going down. Every time there was someone got shot or cut or stabbed or whatever, it would affect the entire culture. And then for months, venues wouldn't want to do shit. So, we were all connected.
So let's hear about the the expansion, right? The expansion now, it's like the lounge. You're around all this epic talent. You're seeing cats blossom, like you said. Also, cats are getting deals, and things are blossoming and taken to the next level. But y'all were definitely a foundational platform for a lot of the greats, especially on that side. So, talk about the expansion into Lyricist Lounge Volume 1, the album. We're making an album now. Like, what
Yeah.
sparked that?
I think this was around the time we stopped doing the underground airplay tapes for Echo. I think we always knew that we would work on an album at some point. A lot of this shit we had already, like, me and Danny would sit, smoke, and just talk, just like any partnerships, right? You cast your visions of like, yo, I could see us doing this, that. So it was just time. We were tired of just doing like mixtapes, and it was like, all right, let's make a real album. And we started the whole shopping process, going, out to everyone. And, we were in the New Yorker Hotel, which for anybody in New York at that time, the New Yorker Hotel on the 8th floor, I believe, was a floor that they just rented out to businesses, small business. So Zulu Nation was on that floor. We were on that floor. And then who else? Raucus had a studio on that floor that John Forte was running. And so we knew Forte, saw him, chopped it up. He talked about Raucus. And, after we met with them and realized one of the owners was Rupert Murdoch's son, who owned Fox. At that time, Fox wasn't as crazy, but we were like,
True.
oh shit, all right, these niggas got money. This is not just a little independent label. We don't know who Plastique is, and we don't know who all these artists are, but maybe we could really make something out of it. And that's when things started really progressing. We had, I think by that time, yeah, we were just getting into our tours. It was just the television show. There was just a lot of, let's take things to that next level. And again, always pushing ourselves, always trying to be perfect. Like this culture, y'all, like, just to get off subject, story, like, man, like this shit is 50 years old this year. And like the amount of shit we can do with it, man. Like, what I'm saying? And that's really just like an understatement. The amount of shit that we could truly do with our culture. Like, just look at what other people do with it. You know what I mean? Just look at what the fuck other people do with it. It's really has been my lifelong mission to just get it together, starting with our own company, but now really like with all of us, how do we really figure out how to perfect what the fuck we have, whether it's hip hop shit, gangster shit, whatever the fuck it is, right? How do we make sure that we keep this shit ours? You know what I mean? And so I look forward to the rest of this convo as we talk about where we're taking it with all this Web3 shit. But yeah, those early days just kind of like remind me of just how hard it was. You know what I'm saying? The shit was not fucking easy. And so, yeah, it was really us taking it to that next level, trying to become more professional.
Yeah. And I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but it's kind of a question and a statement, right? Lyricist Lounge was one of the reasons Science of Life and Big Just decided to leave New York tri-state area and go to ATL metro area in 2000, right? And mainly it was based around going there earlier, doing a couple shows, and realizing how many people were in tune with the Strand, the Lyricist Lounge, the Stretch and Bob, the blah blah blah, right? Just that everything that was happening up top. And we realized people don't really go here from up there, and no one's stationed here. No one lives here from out there like that from that era at the time. So that had a lot to do with it. I want to ask you, like, what were y'all doing? Like, what were your places y'all were moving to as the album popped? You know what I'm saying? Things are rolling. Y'all are leaving outside of New York. What do you feel like were some of the places that helped expand it more? That you feel like this is the home, third home?
Yeah, honestly, bro, shit was, I mean, in hindsight, it's easier to answer. In the moment, so much shit was going on and moving so quickly. that I don't think we even had a grasp of what we had or where, how far it could really go. Um,
Mm.
because, you got to think about it. Um, at a super young age, under what, I was probably 26. We had a national tour, we had an album that launched, and we had a television show on MTV while negotiating like heavy deals at that time. And it was just a lot going on at the same time. But I think it was really the first tour that expanded the brand. We did in '98. We did a huge tour. First of its kind, at least for that era, that involved fucking everybody. From it was hosted by De La Soul, and from the Roots to Common and Deb Prez, just everyone we had ever worked with. You know, um, to that point, we really just was like, all right, let's get on the road. We raised $500,000 to do it. We didn't know what we were doing, which is a big theme in all of this. We rented, we did flights for every single fucking show, which was fucking incredibly stupid when we finally learned you could get a tour bus to do this shit. But literally flights from like New York to Philly. And like, I remember getting on this one, we had a flight booked from I think it was New York to Philly. And it was De La Soul, Talib, Common, and I think Black Thought on the flight. And when I tell you how it was such, because those small flights, they're like little, they're not jets at all. They're like almost like
Yeah, yeah,
propeller ass plane. Yo,
yeah. They are.
we
Yeah.
had one of those moments where everybody, before that shit took off, we all looked around at each other like, you sure? That could have been a good part of hip hop down bad, but we learned a lot, man. We learned a whole lot in that process, and we did 30 dates. We did 30 dates, and
Amazing.
groundbreaking for who the fuck that little circle of people were. This little underground movement. Groundbreaking, and did it 3 years in a row. The next year, '99, we had Exhibit out with us and a few other folks, and shout out, first of all, shout out to Exhibit, shout out to Alcoholics. Exhibit was the first one to take us around LA right after the big fucking earthquake y'all had, before he even had his name as Exhibit. Bro was just really trying. He was asking us, yo, what do y'all think about Loud? We were managing Cellar Dwellers at the time, and I don't remember the name of that North whatever earthquake y'all had. He took us around, man. He's took us to the good life, and took us in the weird alleyways and left us in the fucking Beamer while he go to get weed, and fucking had us shook because we don't know where the fuck we're at. All kind of weird shit.
Yo.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hog this convo, but I can. You know,
Hey,
it's
yo, let me
that
jump in
era.
real
This is
quick.
that era, G.
It is that era, and thanks, John. And we will definitely need some more of that conversations. BTSN Talk Tuesday. What's the Lyricist Lounge's impact on hip hop culture? We got the man, the myth, the legend, Ant Marshall in the building. If you have not done already, follow BTSN at BTSN Pass. You can do that right now. BTSN Pass on Twitter. You can be up to date on these dope ass conversations as we have them. We're gonna jump back into the conversation. I want to digress real fast with you, brother Ant. And I want to know because I wasn't there, and I used to envy watching all this dope stuff on TV back in the day from Pittsburgh. I watched the Lyricist Lounge. I saw the most stuff. I saw that. I used to like, oh, just want to be there so bad. Tell me if you remember your very first show. Walk us through that first show, the very first Lyricist Lounge, bro. I want to know. Brother Ant, you with us, bro?
Yeah, I'm here. My bad. Not very eventful. Like any other special thing. Like not a lot of motherfuckers believing in what the hell we're talking about or understanding. It was called the Session at the time, and so at the law space I was telling y'all about, it really was just like a broken down rehearsal space. We had one drumstick, not all the drum pieces, no turntables, no, you know, two broken microphones, you know, four friends we begged to be there. Like I said, truly uneventful. But I think early on, again, you give the keys to a hangout space to some 15-year-olds, man, like something's gonna happen, good or bad. Something's gonna happen, and luckily we made good out of it. But it took weeks and weeks for us to really call people and get them to understand what we were doing. Like, no, you can come and kind of practice your shit. That's what this is here for. And that, I think, ultimately that's what made people keep coming, and then certain people came. Dougie Fresh came to one, Educated Rapper came to one, so folks started seeing people with names and some skin in the game. And again, with us being so young, these were like legends. I'm saying, to have them come in. Um, and so that was just really helpful. I think there were certain MCs along the way that looked at us as young kids. Like, yeah, I keep saying the young part because it's really, and I know a lot of us started young, but like, it's different when you're trying to start a business versus just be an MC, and if it wasn't for certain people looking at what we had and being like, yo, y'all on to something, keep going. Like, I just don't know that I don't know. You know what I mean? Because we just really, there was no format for what we were doing. There was nothing like it before it. There's still not a lot of things like it. And, it was wild. So, even with the title of this, like the impact, and I'm getting away from your question a little, but just to dive into the question, like, I've really learned on some humble shit. I've learned the impact that the lounge has played based on what, the conversations I've had with people. And some of the bigger impacts that I like are even non-industry related, like the fact that Alicia Keys and Crucial Keys connected at a lounge event. Like, these are things I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Her first producer. This is where her first album was really kind of born out of them meeting at one of our events. And she talked about it in some magazine. It was like shit like that. Like the kind of connections that were made. Motherfuckers who created families and or started new groups together. It's a lot of the shit that I don't know about, that I'm really proud of. But the impact, I think, is what it is. We obviously, at a time, we talk about Web 3 now and Web 2, Web 1, but this was Web none. This is no internet, 40,000 fans by hand, going crazy. Then moving into management, teaching ourselves another part of the business. Signing Cellar Dwellers to Loud, being the first to even pitch a fucking like a van. I remember coming to Rich Isaacson, partner, Steve Rifkin's partner, and I'm like, yo, we want to get a van. We want to, they didn't know how to market the group. And, if none of y'all ever heard of Cellar Dwellers, at that time, it's like 95, 96, they were like the best artists out of Lyricist Lounge at the time. They were like our version of Souls of Mischief to a certain degree, right? Super lyrical, super flows were crazy. And so we put the lounge kind of on pause for a second and ended up signing them to Loud. And while there, and they're like, oh, we don't know how to market these guys. Well, like, all we need is a van. Give us a van. We're going to put their face on the side of the van and take it around the country. And that's how we're going to build our following. And they're like, why the fuck would we do that? Why would we give you a van, have you put your face on it, and then have you use that to promote an album? Fucking 6 months later, Steve Rifkin Company is leading street promotion in the industry, and everybody got a fucking van with their face on it. Wow. And now it's cool, right? But in '95, when we're pitching it, it's like, why would you? So our impact, whether it's Lyricist Lounge, whether it's shit like that, whether it's the connections that happen, the launch events we did, launch events for Bad Boy, Roots' first album, Dead Prez first, release to New York, Eminem's first probably important show in New York. Yeah, I think we did something, man. I think we did something.
No doubt. That's to say the least, man. Definitely shifted the culture in a lot of ways for a lot of different people, and still making waves, I don't know. Is it time to get to that next level of the conversation? Because I know, and I'm excited to just learn more about, just where your mind is right now, with the lounge, but just overall, as you mentioned, just shoot the future of web, the future of currency and
Oh my
movements
God.
and eco. Yeah.
There's a
So
lot there. I mean, to talk about the future, we got to talk about the past. At the end of the day, I feel like, you know, we as a people, as a culture, we did the best we could do. I taught a class at San Francisco State University about the culture, the art and business of hip hop. I spoke about it almost like when it was born, it was a person. The arms represented kind of the graffiti, the legs breakdancing, the clothing, like all the shit. And when I look at where we are now, today, in a lot of ways, we sold the culture out. Now we all saw, in the early days, it was like, yo, don't sell out, don't sell out. It was all this talk, no crossover, EPMD making songs about niggas with R&B hooks, like selling out the culture. And it was very prevalent at that time. Like, yo, be careful, right? Don't fuck up what we have. At a certain point, that shit got erased, right? The Diddy decade really threw that out the window. Now it was all about get money. Nobody's really caring about it. Everybody's, and which was fine. All of this is fine. But at the end of the day, what anyone who did a contract that had to do with hip hop, you've helped to sell the culture out. You needed to. You needed to do what you needed to do. You needed to get your music out, your art out, pay for your rent, take care of your family. But who owns the masters? Who owns the publishing? Who owns the IP? So those three things, in most cases, we've sold away, and it is what it is. We're here now. But now that we're here now, did it work? Right? The strategy, did it really work? Right? Yeah, we got a few billionaires in the game, but did it really work? Is everybody good? And I know everybody can't always be good, but just like the majority, has it worked out? And so where we are today is we have an opportunity to get the shit right, and whether you believe in NFTs and blockchain technology or any of this shit, what I believe in are budgets. And so if you were from my era and you were in the music industry, you understood, what real budgets look like. Well, those things don't look that way anymore. And the same thing with content. A lot of us have been on this content mission, making content, trying to do content deals. These niggas don't want to do deals with us. If they did, they would have had fucking hip hop production deals laid out. Or even now, this whole social media era that we've been in, all of these motherfuckers have millions and millions of followers. Where are their deals? If this shit is true, if the myth of social, or not the myth, but the sales pitch of social media of get your followers up and then everything will fall in line. No, it's not true. They fucking played us yet again, using our culture. Before they were using our culture just to make paper, now they're using our culture to get data. So even that dream of like being a content creator or production company again, and I'm an optimistic motherfucker, but I look at I'm a realistic motherfucker, right? And you just got to look at the deals. They're either happening or they're not, and they're not. And so today, using Web3, following where the budgets are, we have the possibility of protecting the culture and in a lot of ways buying it back. And so we're developing a couple ideas. I ain't going to say it all because I don't believe in giving it all away all the time or in the public. I'm definitely 50 years old this year and grew up in a different era. And we all need to be careful with that. I love the social shit. I love, we could all talk, but niggas is listening. Niggas is always listening. And at the end of the day, like, I don't take this shit lightly. This shit ain't just about music. You know what I mean? This really is about like a fucking fight to make sure that our people still have an outlet, for financial security. It's either this or the streets or the sports. So, and again, I'm generalizing. Obviously, there's way other things. Motherfuckers could go to school all day and climb the ladder and all that shit, but like everybody's not for that. So that's what I'm up to now, John. It's like learning the last year and 9 months, as you know, it's been about learning about what this Web3 shit is. It's been about moving away from being just like a content creator. I'm not doing any of that shit anymore. I'm out the content business. I'm not doing that. Not just doing shit to make my packed up and then they go home with all the money, or artists go home with all the money and don't give a.
No, you're right. I hear you. I hear you. I mean, we all of us who create any piece of content are giving away just masters every day, masters of content, things that are just unreleased thoughts and expressions, playing beats, music. So, nah, you're right. And it's a backwards industry because the content creators are seeing pennies at best. You know what
And
I'm
I
saying?
think,
It's a
and
bad game.
that's why I stopped. And we have a very good opportunity now to now that we're coming into the knowledge of owning our data and being able to create our own platforms and through the aid of Web3 technologies and through the aid of cryptocurrencies and things of that sort. So what is my question to you, Ann, is what are some of the things that Lyricist Lounge is doing to kind of like update the hip hop audience from Web 0, as you explained it before, to where we're at now?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're developing a simple website. Well, all right. So we've created a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, which is basically just like a co-op of people, friends and family who believe in the same dream. The dream is, oh, we could build a hip hop ecosystem that runs off of our own uh, currency, in a sense, called bars, right? And this simple agreement between everyone in the community that as you upload music or comment on music, or as you take some learning modules and you learn about Web3, you're going to be rewarded with our token called bars. At that point, you could go to the redeem section on the site and redeem it for studio time, advice, clothing, whatever partnerships we're doing, or it may be water and toilet tissue at the next fucking pandemic if we get down to it. Ultimately, we're just trying to get off the titty, right? How do we create an ecosystem where we don't have to rely on these niggas for every fucking movement? How do I rely on y'all instead of having to rely on Interscope? How can I do
Well,
a deal with y'all than do a deal with Universal?
word. Yeah, I love
I
it.
would say debt to
Nice.
income ratio. If you got a good debt to income ratio, you don't got to go to Interscope. You can go to Bank of America. You
There you
can go
go.
to Wachovia. You can go to you. I mean, that's all. If you got assets and leverage, I mean, it's all about. That's why I like Russ. And I'm glad my man pointed out the owning the masters. I always say that when I was a young kid. I remember Suge Knight saying, "We own our masters at Death Row," and I like never heard that
Yeah, that's
before in
true.
my life. And then
Yeah.
at the same time, Prince had put slave on his face, and I was
Yep.
just like, that just like amazed me. I was like, wow. And he was like, I'm a slave because I don't own my masters and all this, and it was just like a thing. And then here come Master P. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? Like he changed my life. Like I was hustling. I was a young hustler, project baby, straight project baby out Pittsburgh. You know,
Mm.
like gangs out here. It's just straight drug wars. And you know what I'm saying? And I watched that movie about it, and that changed my life. I had a son that same year, '98. I had my first son, and like that shit made me want to leave the streets. So I started making music. I didn't get the deal I wanted, but I got film and TV placements, and I've been eating off music since like 2005. Not on a large scale, but just about 12,000, 15,000 a year in royalties. I do accounting. Another thing I think is like we need financial literacy because people going into these deals with no literacy, don't know anything
Yep.
proprietary, anything with that word in it, perpetuity or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's
Yep.
just people just going in there hungry. Another thing I like with Ray Charles is like if this blind man was in the 1950s and couldn't even see the contract, had enough sense to say, I want my masters when Frank Sinatra and none of them people ever had it in their life.
Mm.
This man couldn't
Mm.
even read. He couldn't even read the contract.
Facts.
But he
Mm.
had enough sense with a C and an S, the sense to like, hey, I want to own my masters. And then like nobody else took the key after that. Everybody was just like, just give me the check. I don't
Mm.
want to do the work. You know what I mean? That's why I always
Mm.
salute the
And
people
the,
who build it. You know what I mean?
and it feels like, and I appreciate that input. And it feels like the how we're moving now with the Web 3 products and Lyricist Lounge and how Lyricist Lounge is moving is that you have an opportunity to do that, but in a very digital way, structured in a way that brings not only an asset, which is your music, to you, but it also allows you to be able to work with others in that same way and still be able to own that data. So outside of the Barge tokens, and Marshall, I know you have the Lyricist Lounge DAO. How long has Lyricist Lounge been? Like 26 years, 27 years?
Yeah, we're going on 31 years now. 31 years, and I want to add to what Slim said though, because it's a honestly, the Midwest and the West Coast has always been smarter than the East Coast when it comes to business deals. And not necessarily because niggas are smarter, but also because out of necessity. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these labels were looking at us to gobble us up and wasn't doing as many of the Midwest and West Coast deals, especially Bay Area. You look at Short and everything kind of laid the blueprint out early, and so out of necessity, folks was in their trunk early. We didn't even have a trunk versus, nonetheless having a fucking driver's license, and so a lot of that hand to hand shit didn't come till later when CDs came out, then folks was trying to hit it. But by that time, look, all of this, and this all has to do with the conversation we're having in terms of the future, right? Like what's been happening with the culture is every time the distribution model changes, we have to reset and catch up. Right. So before, when the shit was records, as soon as we realized we could print our own records and we had all these record shops, that shit went digital, right? Or it went to CDs. Soon as we realized a motherfucker could go to disc makers and make our own disc, that shit went digital. Soon as we realized we could do our own Bandcamp, that shit went to streaming. Soon as we realized how to be builders and developers of our own and start talking to fucking developers to build our own streaming platforms, the shit is moving to NFTs. And as soon as you realize how to fucking finesse an NFT, that shit gonna move to something else. So I had an inner argument with myself damn near at the end of the pandemic. Like, nigga, what are you gonna do? Your whole fucking career is built on live events. Ooh, claps. Your whole fucking career is built on live events and film production. This shit is about to change. Motherfuckers can't even stand next to each other. How are you gonna do it? And I had an inner talk with myself. I gangstered myself from inside, and it was like, well, you got to become a futurist. You got to work on projects that are 5 and 10 years and 20 years from now, because speaking for all of us, we got to be where that is, where the 20-year mark is, because if not, then niggas is always going to be trying to catch up. You're always going to be learning about it way too late. Everybody trying to get trying to buy a Bitcoin right now, you're mad late, right? April 2020, that shit was $5,000. December, it was 60 grand. You're late. Not to say you can't get in late, right? But the profits are early. So everybody's been hearing about NFTs and blockchain and all this shit, but how many motherfuckers is going down the rabbit hole? And so that's what time it is. I went down the rabbit hole with 60 to 100 people on a Google Meet call. J.E. was there. Badru jumped in a couple times. Every Friday at 10 a.m. Wendy Day from the Rap Coalition, Salam Remy, my homegirl LYRICIST, who runs the Apollo, Simone, who runs the Kennedy Center, a bunch of folks that were just trying to figure out what an NFT is. And then that shit took us way down the rabbit hole into everything else. And so now I'm a tech founder, and I got a company called Proof of Vibes with a homie of mine, and we're building what's called a Web3 protocol, with basically an app, that will allow tastemakers, folks like y'all, when you go out to events, you can rate the event. How cool was it? Was it, how friendly were people? How was the music? But then you receive vibe checks for that. So similar to what I was telling you about the lounge, where all of the interaction will be rewarded in bars. In this, the interactions, these ratings, almost like a Yelp. You would go to a restaurant, you go to an event, you may meet somebody, right? All of these things you can rate. Like, I had a good experience with Badru. but then you mint it. You create an NFT. That NFT lives on the blockchain. And at the end of the day, what we're doing is creating, I'm getting nerdy right now, but we're creating community consensus around quality on the internet, to put it lightly. Now, that shit may mean nothing to certain people, but some of these really tech heads that get it understand, the deepness of what this all means. Like, that's really where the paper is. So anyway, I'm shifting. I'm shifting to like not just being a community curator or whatever the fuck. I'm learning how to become a coder, how to become a developer, how to learn all these fucking languages that nobody really wants to do, but we have to. Because now this ain't, if you're an artist, this ain't about your manager speaking for you or my manager will, nah, you got to fucking understand it. You got to understand it or prepare to be fucking played as usual.
Absolutely. And that's why I mention, the future, but more so ecosystems and currency, just because I for a long time have known we are each other's power, like legit. And what you described with the DAO, I feel like, that's the futuristic way of, like you said, doing business with each other, but we're locked in a different way where it's like you see it, it's transparent, it flows. Um, and I wanted to ask you, like, in terms of just spreading the information and finding more people, but not even necessarily spreading the information and finding more people, but just grounding people in the space. How do you feel is, or what do you feel is the best way to put people on, get people to understand, like, for real, like, yo, if you're not shifting your mind, if the last 3 years haven't forced you to shift your mind, then yeah, you're late. You're late. Is that in your mission, or is it more like, yo, the people that are not on the boat, we move?
I'm glad. I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
I learned a long time. So I'm definitely one of those. My mom used to call me the what she called me, the underground, not king of the underground or king of the I forget the fucking term, but it's like I'm always trying to help people. Oh, king of the
Mm,
underdog. She used to say, king of the
mm,
underdog. And I'd be like, why are you saying that? It's like you always trying to help somebody, you know what I'm saying? And whatever, like that's my thing. I fucking care. Right? And I may not go with the current brand of fucking hip hop, but I fucking care about our fucking people in every
word.
fucking instance. And so, but I had to learn over time that everybody's not gonna make it on the fucking boat, right? You got a boat. If the water's rising, everybody's not making it on there. And so, I think it's also about not being a Web3 bully. I would like everybody to know this information, but I can't force anybody to do anything. So what we're doing is we're setting up our site, LLDAO XYZ. You'll be able to go there and take a couple trainings. After that, it'll drop you into our site, and our site is really just different work streams. And again, so for all of y'all, again, around the DAO concept, it's almost like a gang. It's almost like a club. It's a bunch of friends that again agree on the same vision, but unlike a corporation, right? So if I say, "Oh, I'm starting a corporation and I need all of y'all help," everybody's like, "Okay, how much you paying or how much equity are you giving me?" Right? Now, if I don't have investment to pay you, then I got to shell off some equity, but I only got 100%. Now, it's okay if it's just me and three other partners, but it's hard when it's 10 partners. It's even harder when it's 1,000 partners. It's even harder when it's 1,000,000 people who want to contribute, right? So that's where old corporations got it fucked up, because you can't really get but so much help. These things, because I got 100 million bars tokens, I have a mechanism now where for all of you, if you put in work, you're going to receive at least something in return. Now, my job is to make sure that something, that bars token, has utility, that it does something. You know what I'm saying? That you can redeem it for studio time, or we do a deal with Nike and you can redeem it for some Lyricist Lounge Nike kicks or whoever, whatever artist, we have to make utility of it, sense of it. And so, to your question, brother, is really slow motion. Watch me or work with me or watch me work. Ultimately, whenever you feel comfortable to jump in, and not just me, this is kind of hip hop Web3 in general. Because Casual, right, from Hyro, got his own bars token. He got his movement that he's been working on, and they both, even though we share the same token name, they do different things. But ultimately, whether it's with East Coast Lyricist Lounge, and which we're not just East Coast, but Drew got me on some East Coast, West Coast shit. But whether it's Lyricist Lounge, wherever we at, or it's over there with Hyro, wherever, there
Yeah.
are collectives for you to join. And so I just think it's gonna happen over time, but it really may be about our grandkids. It may not even be about us. We still trying to stay out of jail. You know what I'm saying? We still trying to get over simple shit, on this side. Not to call the lifestyle simple, because I know it's a lot of caught up shit, that has people in this loop. But, we're still going through this cycle. It may really be the grandkids and the great grandkids that get this shit right. The real question is, what the fuck we passing down, y'all? Like, what are we passing down? Like, I don't
Facts.
know about y'all. I'm not sitting on a big savings account. I'm not, what are we passing down?
La Russell, hey,
As
that
far
young boy, La Russell,
love, love.
woo, man, he heavy.
It's
I,
real.
I like, I like, I'd rather one lion than 1,000 sheep, and I look at him as a young lion for this generation, and I'll bet the house on the young boy. The young boy, he's from Oakland. They the originators of the whole independent movement, like to
You
this,
already
even
know.
still to this day. You know what I mean? And it's always going to be a whole bunch of sheep. So you just got to pay attention to the lines. You know what I mean? And if you focus on the sheep, it'll be looking all bad. If you just focus on the lion, we got strength. You know what I mean?
Man,
Game
I could
alert.
just. Sorry, go ahead.
Big game alert, big game alert. Yo, if y'all don't know, if y'all had not understood what he was just saying about this Web3 stuff, every artist on this phone, every creator on this Twitter space should be taking big notes about that Web3 game that was just given a couple minutes ago. That was big game with the bars, the utility, the DAOs, the meetings. That was A1 big game futuristic. That's gonna put you in a big position to do great things with your artistry going forward. If you log in just for that, then you got what it was supposed to get. What's Lyricist Lounge Impact on Hip Hop Culture? BTSN Talk Tuesdays. If you have not already done it, follow BTSN Pass on Twitter so that you can stay up to date on these flash conversations that we're having. We're about to open up for some question and answers in a minute. I know, Polly Rob, what you got for me?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
cool.
definitely got a question. I do want to take a slight step back. And shout out to you. The information you've been given is golden. Um, there's a point in time that I just kind of embarked on the energy of Lyricist Lounge. And for me, I definitely wanted to ask this question, and it's going to be a long question, but hopefully everybody can follow me because it pertains to the TV and film aspect of everything. So with the Lyricist Lounge show, first off, if anybody has not watched the Lyricist Lounge show, go find it somewhere and watch that. It's amazing. Now, in that time, when you put together the show, this was the time where, hip hop was being embraced, of course, by TV and film. We get your New York Undercovers and things like that. But this was a show that was like it was like Mad TV, Saturday Night Live. It was like a concert. It was like a living color, lyricism, like all embodied into one. Parodies. You know, um, comedy. It was everything embodied into one, and that was like so ahead of his time because now when you look at a lot of the Jimmy Fallon shows and a lot of these big name productions, one of their key elements of them breaking through to the generation that they want to is, being in the car rapping, karaoke, making parodies of different styles of songs, making scenarios and making a song about it. And the Lyricist Lounge show, if you watch the show, like it was real situations. Uh, someone going to jail, like the one with CeeLo Green, the robbery. I've seen someone on YouTube do a robbery style rap record like how you guys did. So I wanted to know, just tell us about the process of you guys actually, getting the show on TV, which is a rarity in that time, and then just fast forward to now, how you see so many people replicating what you guys have done.
Absolutely. Nah, thank you for the question. And first of all, shout out to all West Coast related folks on this call right now. And again, like production companies, hip hop production companies that's been in LA pitching shit, to have some folks from New York just kind of jump in. I know that must have been tense because again, like folks have really just been beating these doors down for years and we just don't get enough. So we were very lucky to get in. The process started with the album. We were working on the Volume 1 Lyricist Lounge album. We were doing one of the sketches which were on the album, and it was really supposed to be just like, I think it's kind of one of the sketches in the beginning of the album where it's just like a freestyle of a bunch of niggas just outside. So it was like, we filled up the studio, Firehouse Studios at the time, with everybody around us. It was AL and Wordsworth, Punch, Thurston Howell, just a gang of artists. And while after they had already recorded, now everybody's just hanging out in the kind of lounge area. And I guess a beat is running. Word starts to, I guess it was a freestyle session that turned into a sketch, the first sketch. Words becomes the teacher. And were you there, John? You may have even been there. But
yeah, that was the day we recorded that outside the lounge.
Exactly, the outside the lounge sketch. Yep.
Yeah.
So Words turned into the professor, and it was even wild because where he was standing in the room was really no one near him, and everybody else was on the other side of him. So it almost really was like he was the teacher, and he's like, "I'm the professor, whatever, da 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 da." And then somebody was like, "Excuse me, professor, what's it?" And so it turned into really the first sketch. And luckily, Danny was recording it and filmed it, and it was that clip that got us the TV show. We went through a whole bunch of hoops and whatever you call it, really get to the MTV. But once we did, it was really the clip that sold it. And interestingly enough, because we didn't really trust Hollywood at that time, so the show was really called Press Record, because this was at a time of VCRs. We wanted everybody to record the shows, because we knew that, that it would be valuable, and we grew up on, In Living Color and all these shows, and, recording shows to watch later was always a thing for hip hop heads. So press record, because we were like, you're going to fuck up our brand and we don't trust you. And so it was probably like 8 months that we held out from letting them call it Lyricist Lounge. They kept asking, and they were like, yeah, but we really like that Lyricist Lounge thing. You guys have been doing stuff with it. It has a name, has traction. We're like, yeah, but nah. We really was going to save that to do a different show called Lyricist Lounge that would have been closer to the showcase. So when the show actually came out, it really changed a lot of like so it was weird because we have different phases and pockets of following. So like the early from 91 to 95 or 98 Lyricist Lounge heads knew us as one thing. When the show came out, I had people literally coming up to me like, "Yo, Ant, you seen that shit?" I was like, "What you talking about?" They like, "Yo, MTV stole your name, bro. MTV stole your fucking name, bro. I swear. Look, I seen this shit. They're posting up posters and shit on." I'm like, "Yo, calm down. Like, yeah, that's my show." They're like, "No, you don't know what I'm talking about. They stole your name." I'm like, "Bro, no. I did a deal with them for the show." They were like, "Oh, word?" You know what I'm saying? Because now they're like, again, this was in the don't sell out era. And here we go, stepping over the line big time, you know. But it was a fight. And, you know, contrary to what anyone understands, getting a television deal is an ugly situation. Someone once told me, you know, there's two things you don't want to see made: television and sausages.
Facts.
Because the shit that goes into those two things is horrible. So that should tell you enough. But they eventually, after us fighting for our brand, remember, it's our idea. We came up with rhyme sketches and comedy sketches together on one show. That was the whole package. That is the show. All the MCs, the talent that we brought in, they wrote their own fucking sketches, right? And if you go back and you watch the show, it's the rhyme sketches that carry the show. The comedy sketches are butt. Shout out to all the writers. I love you. But still, that shit was not great. Did not carry the show. And so, you know, but even with us doing all of that, eventually they kicked us out the writer's room. They didn't want us in the writer's room anymore because what? Because we had opinions. And Hollywood does not want opinions or ideas. You know, they want IP and concepts they could run with and whitewash, you know what I'm saying, and turn into their version of hip hop. So, you know, it's an ugly road.
Man, those rhyme sketches is still to this day some of the best penmanship and crafting and storytelling I've ever heard. Like
Big fact.
And I'm talking about. And let's be clear, it's within 2 to 3 minutes, if that. So in the way y'all formulate, like it's phenomenal, and I still have yet to see anybody else do something close to that. Like salute.
Has anyone ever seen the Sticky Fingers A Day in the Life? It's like a
Yeah.
movie, but oh man, that was one like I was like drunk. I ain't even gonna hold you. I'm like, what is? I'm like, is they rapping? I brought it back to the beginning. I'm like, hey yo, they went in a little bit on there. They had a little cast in there. Omar Epps, my man from the Wire, Omar, bless Michael Williams, bless his soul. He was in there. It was a couple people in there. I was like, it was pretty dope.
Yeah, Sticky went crazy. Sticky went crazy on
Yeah.
that. And, you know, a lot of people compare, you know,
Right.
Wildin' Out to our show. And a lot of times they're like, oh, they stole your concept. But that shit is very different from what we did. And even now, we just went back and re-pitched the entire show 20 years later with Jamie Foxx and CAA as a partner, and everybody turned it down. So again, you know, as much as we know what's dope, this Hollywood world and this industry, you know, it's really not for us. We have to create our own lane, y'all. We have to. We got to
Right.
start saying no more. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying?
Yes.
If you the hottest shit on this call, you fucking killing it this year, learn how to say no.
What?
Learn
What?
how to say no.
Nah, the bars you dropped earlier, I want to go back to because it's a real thing. You know, there's men on this call, and you know, women, and it's just life, right? You said, what are you leaving behind? You know, and I think some of the things I think about a lot as a creator, right, is how do I story tell with my creations in other ways that will mean something later, that could be, you know, currency in a sense to my family generations later, etc. And I think we all need to be thinking like that with our output, like the things we're putting out. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you've lived, you know, a 20-year, 25-year creator career, how do you package that into something that you could leave that means something to your family legacy, but with instructions? Like, you know, I wonder that, like, how many creators talk to their children about the catalog and what to do with it? You know what I'm saying? And how to make it pop, you know? I don't know if you speak, if you want to speak to that, because I'm interested to hear that, just some of your perspective on that.
Man, I'm in the stew with my kids right now, man. I got three. I got twins that are 10 and an 8-year-old. I'm teaching them about, you know, Chat GPT, AI, about augmented reality, virtual reality, about volumetric
Mm,
capture, about cryptocurrency, about blockchain. You fucking name it, y'all. I'm teaching them about everything I'm learning. I'm teaching it teaching them right now. I'm having meetings with them on the call. Shout out to Russ on the line. Like, I'm having people pull up and have meetings with me with them there, just so they can soak it up, because it's more than just telling them about it. It's showing them, it's getting them involved. You know what I'm saying? It's getting their companies up and running right now. It's paying them, it's hiring them as employees in your company right now, getting their own bank accounts right now, putting money in their accounts right now. You know what I'm saying? It's really just about, and it's about not seeing them as kids. Like, they're my partners. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, we were starting to work on this, like, Black Alexa a year ago. We like, yo, we wanted to create a Black Alexa, and legit went down the road of like, okay, well, how are we going to create it? And let's find developers. And, so
But
I think it's about, having them run with you, bring them to the meetings, have them on calls, have them with you, talk to them about it. There's going to be more their industry than yours. The metaverse, all this shit is more theirs than yours anyway. So just get them
Yeah, I'm
involved.
sorry, man. I'm an accountant, man. I got to say this, little. Long as your kids are doing legitimate work, you can hire your child tax free and pay them up
Talk
to
about it.
$12,000 tax free per year,
Talk about it. Yep.
like literally. And it lowers your business tax. You know what I mean? And also, they can also work up while they're in college as well. You know what I mean? And they don't have to pay the 15.3 FICA. You know what I mean? Up to 12,000.
Hey, who's
I
talking?
think they're
I'm
gonna raise
texting.
that.
I'm
I
DMing
think
you
the rate.
after this. Who that, Slim? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an accountant. I do bookkeeping. I'm the director of programs and controller at this nonprofit here in Pittsburgh. Straight block boy. Same neighborhood I grew up in. I'm trying to put back in. You know what I mean? We got this program called Boot Up PGH. It stands for Build Our Own Technology, uplifting people. You know what I mean? And we're teaching children about technology as well, AI and everything. And it's a beautiful thing that the children, like, they could do it. They can make the little TikTok videos. They already know their program. This is what they grew up in. Like, like how we was microwave babies. They gonna be like the social media babies, the TikTok baby, or like, not gonna say that, but in the same sense, it's like they growing up in it, and they're gonna be the first ones to, when they get a hold of it and understand it. Whew, man, the business side, rather. I mean,
Yep.
it's gonna be
Agreed.
beautiful.
I
Agreed.
think TikTok. I think the kids were on TikTok first. I think the first time I saw TikTok was when I was teaching kids at a school. They were like middle school kids. They were already on TikTok, and I thought it was a kid thing, so I jumped on because of them to try to keep up with them. And then all of a sudden, everybody now on TikTok. I think it was Musically or something like that first, but yeah. So 14,000. I think they're raising that level of how much kids can get. I think they're raising that to 14,000, but 12,000 is definitely dope. If you got 3 kids, that's some big change you can get wrote off. What's Lyricist Lounge
Hmm.
impact on hip hop culture? BTSN top twos. If you haven't done already, follow BTSN Pass. Let's get back into the conversation. We got Aaron Marshall on the phone. He's one of the architects, the co-founder of Lyricist Lounge, has been dropping the dopest game on us about Web3, about the inception of Lyricist Lounge and where it came from. All this is super dope information. Even more so, we like seeing how Lyricist Lounge has evolved to continue to have an impact on the culture. And we're confident by seeing what you're doing with the Web3 stuff that we're going to keep this thing moving on and on. Real quick, I want to we talk about. I want to digress real quick and ask a question. I know we talk about a lot of different things, but I was just kind of like wondering about this. We have a family tree, like they have like the coaching family tree. They can see everybody who came out of the coaching, who came from this little coaching line, and who also doing great things. Well, so what is the Lyricist Lounge family tree? Tell us who was doing the dope, who came out of Lyricist Lounge and is now doing amazing things besides yourself, of course.
Lord have mercy. So a number of heads. Obviously, the folks have known of, the Moses and the Qualies, and which I know there's been a lot of stuff going on between Quali and a number of folks. My brothers and sisters on the West Coast, and I hope all of that heals as soon as possible, for a number of obvious reasons. But yeah, the Dead Prez's and the Eminems and the Roots Commons, and you name it, man. We were in and out through all of these streets back then. And so I think at a certain point we kind of slowed down. So it's almost, it's almost like anyone from 91 until, 2005, let's say, most of those artists in that time period we've worked with. All of the legends, the Big Daddy Kanes and Rakims and KRSs, I think it's important to mention when we do a showcase, the perfect showcase to us is one that represents the entire family tree, not just people that have messed with us, but like within the culture. What we really try to do is create almost like really like the community, so that it's hosted by somebody who's a legend that we all have respect for. The performers that are making up the meat of the show are usually new artists that you maybe haven't heard of. As you get towards the end, there's a headliner that usually represents that period, who's really dope and everyone has heard of. So at the end of the day, you got everybody there. And we've always just really been bent on just trying to have the whole family tree, because there's a lot of weird shit going on, and ageism, and like, oh, you 40, you still rapping? Like, shut up, nigga. Like, you're gonna be rapping too when your ass is 40. Like, what I'm saying? Like, this is really about everybody getting on and showing how dope they are, no matter how old they are, and no matter what ethnicity they are. White, black, or indifferent. Eminem was busting niggas' ass back then. Nobody was like, "Oh, you white, you ain't supposed to be doing." Like, he was busting your ass, and that's all that was important. Vanilla Ice was a completely different story. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was clowning that nigga every minute. So,
Yeah, how many times
it's
did Vanilla
all
Ice perform?
yeah. What'd you say?
How many times did Vanilla Ice perform at the Lyricist
Yeah,
Lounge?
not at all. I wouldn't be on this call right now if it was once.
Yeah, man, I gotta
But
say that hearing you describe how you guys booked the Lyricist Lounge and your approach to putting together the shows, I gotta say, even in hindsight, I see the value in that because of how you tried to explain that to me when we collabed. And now I'm hearing you explain that that's been like, I mean, I feel like you said that during that time too. Just like, our lineups are like this. We want to do like that. Cause I remember just going
right,
through
right.
a zillion people in the lineup, going back and forth. I can get this guy, I can get that guy. Well, who do you want? And like, who do you want? Like, we were going through the whole thing. And so I really respect that because I firsthand could say, like, I've seen you police the standard of what that is. But being that I also hear you say, like, yeah, it's not so much a East Coast thing. It's not so much these people or those people. But myself, I still look at it like probably a lot of others where I'm like, well, it's an East Coast foundation and
It's
has that
heavy.
strong
Yeah,
foundation. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
was there any pushback or little chatter about when you did one of your anniversary shows? This might not be the only one, but it's the one I know of outside of New York. Like doing an anniversary show outside of your market isn't common when it's a brand that people think is local. You know what I mean? So did you hear something about that? Did you have pushback? Was it
Nah,
odd?
no, no, no. I think people always like we're like a traveling band, So although our home is New York, we've always kind of just gone everywhere. Um, would have loved to do it even more. And now where we are is we're launching chapters. So we've had a Nigerian chapter for the last 3 years, and we're kind of launching chapters in different countries now because the same shit is needed, if not more, in some of these other places. But yeah, man, I don't know, bro. This shit's been weird, bro, because we have a great history, but we haven't really done a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like End of the Week in New York have done more showcases than us. Like they're the longest running open mic. We just were very extremely strategic about what we did. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't about how many times. It was about because literally maybe we did 3 a year. Maybe
Mm,
4 a year. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't as consistent, and that's also what made it special. Because then when it popped back up, it was like, oh shit, giving niggas no time. You know what I'm saying? Like a
yeah.
week's a week's notice, 4 days notice. Um, it was very hodgepodge, bro. We were really man. We looked up to folks like y'all. Shout out to Bigger B, and like just the whole the units, man, the unity and just or you. Am I messing my words up? My apologies if I'm mixing names up. But what was the
No,
name of
Bigger
the
B is
event?
Unity. Unity is
Yeah,
Bigger B's event.
yeah. You know, even though I never been to one, but we were always hearing about things like that. So yes, our thing is special, but we're all special, man. All of this shit, we all felt the need to create a platform for motherfuckers to get on. And that, I don't give a fuck. If you've never done this before, you got to understand how big of a heart that is. We don't need to do this shit. Badru don't need to do this shit. AC alone don't need to do this shit. You know what I'm saying? The woman who was running Good Life ain't need to do this shit. You know, Black Lily in Philly, like, niggas could have been for self. We could have just made our own
Yeah.
groups and put all that energy into us. You know what I'm saying? Like, motherfuckers was like, nah, I want the next 20 of my years to be about putting other people on with no need for a thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know. I commend that constantly, and I honestly want to stop talking for a second because AC alone, I know you here, brother. I'd love to hear your opinion on all this. You know, you are definitely another OG that, you know, I don't even know if I've had the pleasure of really sitting down and talking with you. We may have met through passing, but yeah, man, what is your opinion? Not just on the lounge, but just everything we're talking about. You know, what are your thoughts?
Make AC a speaker, Jay.
AC's
Oh yeah,
already a
yeah, yeah.
speaker.
No, I've been listening. I've been listening the whole way. I mean, I agree with everything. It's just like I'm just shutting my mouth and just agreeing and listening, and even to go back. You know, when he was talking about the bars and all that, those concepts. You know, those are great concepts. You know, because we all need to. You know, it's like another front that needs to be reunited. You know, and this is a good discussion towards that. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I always preach own your own masters. I mean, that is the biggest key. You know what I mean? Like from the beginning, I'm glad I learned a little bit part of that game early. Like you never give them up, like no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Because you just got to figure out a way to repurpose them and do what they're going to eventually do anyway. You know what I mean? So I don't know which part of the discussion because I've been listening the whole way, and you know, so and big up
I just
Lyricist
wanted to
Lounge.
hear you speak, brother.
Yeah, no,
I
big
just
up Lyricist
respect you
Lounge.
so much,
Everything I
man.
did, man, everything that y'all did, it was you know, I had the pleasure of going to one, the one with the licks. I was at that one, and
Hmm.
yeah, that was pretty dope. That's the first time I seen Mos Def, and you know, I was like, you know, I had to be out there. I think that might have been the third one, so it was a couple that happened before, and then I finally made it out. But yeah, you know, um, that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted to add in. If y'all wanted to hear me say anything, you know what I mean?
Hey, yo, ACLO,
That's
real
what's
quick, man. Tell me about that experience at the Lyricist Lounge, man. Tell me how that was when you went there that one time. How was it?
Oh man, it was. I was in the you know, to be honest, I was like a fly on the wall in there. Even though from where I was at, you know, I would be on the mic all night. You know what I'm saying, or trying to be. But I had to be like, I had to just kick back and watch everything because I watched the homies repping. I watched Tash and them rep. You know, and I was like, because it was that song. I forget what song it was. What is a song with Tash on it?
the body rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I watched that. No, I was a fly on the wall. I was just like, okay, just let me peep game. You know what I'm saying? See how it was done. And I remember it being a dope night.
Oh, that's cool,
Yeah.
man. We were so
Per,
again so
per,
young and in and out of there and not really, you know, knowing everybody, man. So a lot of times, like if it wasn't by Drew pulling me and be like, yo, you need to meet this dude, like I just didn't even know who was who. That's crazy.
yeah, I didn't know who was who as far as like who was running things. I didn't even know. I learned a lot tonight just knowing how y'all came about because I had no clue. I kind of thought it was a one place at one time. You know, like I did it at the same place, like you said. But I guess y'all moved it around to
Yeah,
different.
we're actually moving on that now for the first time. We're looking to create a Lyricist Lounge social club and tie in the whole, you know, NFTs and membership and, you know, and really boss up on it now, do our own hip hop Soho club type of style. So
Nice. That's what's up.
I feel like the closest we ever got between like a Project Blow Lyricist Lounge collaboration was the Lyricist Lounge 20th anniversary,
yeah,
Stranger Love, which both of you
yeah,
guys were involved. Yeah.
yes, sir. Thank you for
What was
that.
the thinking about bringing that to LA?
Say it again.
What was the thinking around bringing the 20th anniversary, like such a monumental anniversary to LA?
Man, Badru, I know you're doing the whole business thing, but shit, man. Come on, nigga. We gotta go to LA. Like, it's just, like I lived in California for 6 years. You know what I'm saying? The Bay is my second home. I love the Bay. It reminds me of, New York in a lot of ways, the public transportation. LA, I moved there for 3 years. And, it was just after being there, and I realized like we actually get more love or at least at that time, we were getting more love in California than we was on the East Coast. Not that we weren't packing shit out, but like the appreciation was different. You know what I'm saying? Like some
Mm,
of y'all fans when they come out, it's like it's different. You know what I'm saying? They appreciate it on a whole, just hip hop on a whole nother level. The breakers, the graffiti writers, like that level. When we were in Phoenix, we brought, we took Eminem and Black Eyed Peas around the country in '98. Interscope paid us to take them on the road, and when at least one show we did in Phoenix, it was just like, I don't know, bro. It's just crazy. So the thinking behind it was like, if y'all don't do it, you stupid. We had access to Nokia. I wanted to do something big. I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something big that was going to be kind of put us back on the map to a certain degree. It had been years since we had done things there. And so it just all worked out. Shout out to Lewis, the homie from over there, helped to put the connect together. And then you came in, and then it was just obvious like who else needed to be a part of that, whether, the whole freestyle fellowship movement. Again, this was more about, we wanted y'all to see 20 years of us, but also like 20 years of official people on stage, that just represented the culture. So it came together well, man. Badru, thank you again, brother.
man, yeah, no, appreciate you. And it's when you made the comment about the fans out here, that is I know I keep making a joke about the gangster hip hop versus like hip hop, traditional hip hop or whatever. But I know one thing in LA, these fans, whether they're gangster fans, traditional fans, whatever you want, underground fans, they bang for everything they like. Like it's just a aggressive gangsterism around whatever they like. I've heard it for everybody. They got like I've heard it for everybody. I've seen them. People have tattoos of almost all my homies on them. Like some people have multiple tattoos of the homies on them. Like it's just you can get a high roll, a blow, the AC, and people walk up to you and they be religious with this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it very much is a culture of how we appreciate things out here. It's like aggressive.
Yeah.
It's aggressive.
Yeah. And we've had our best shows there too. Like House of Blues, shout out to House of Blues. Like those shows 98 and 2000 were just incredible, just really, really incredible. I walked 98, Slick Rick, I think was the headliner, just came home from jail. I walked that man across the street from the Hyatt to House of Blues. If you know LA on Sunset, you already know how busy it is. Yo, that shit, everybody stopped. Every car fucking stopped and walked this man across the street like true royalty, all his fucking jewels on, nothing tucked. It was right across the street anyway. But, a walk through, bro, and right into VIP, and everybody was there greeting this man. It was an incredible experience. As a kid, I had that man in a frame on my wall. You know what I'm saying? So like to bring him in, I don't know, man. This shit really is about the culture for me. Most of these shows we didn't make money, y'all. Like we really only made money off the TV show. Everything else was like a $20 night. Like we really did not. I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? I'm being for real. I'd be on the yacht having this call. Like we did not make money, but we made relationships, we made memories, We made a brand that niggas are still talking about to this day. Most of our shit, 0.01% of our content online, you know, and niggas are still remembering this shit. So very blessed, man. Very blessed to, you know, have all of y'all on this call, even listening. Like, life is life, and right now shit is real for so many reasons, you know, in all of our lives, you know. So I appreciate y'all taking the time to even
Respect.
fucking listen.
Respect.
We got about
Bless every time, bro.
we got about 15 minutes left. If anybody in the crowd want to jump in, ask a few questions real quick while we got the bro Ant Marshall on the phone on the line, that'd be like super dope. You can jump in with a question right now. We'll bring you up. Raise your hand. We got the man, the myth, the legend on the line. If you want to ask questions, this is that time. But Drew, what's up?
Oh, I don't have questions. I know all the answers. No, I'm just kidding. I see. My questions are terrible because when I think about it, I don't want to. I don't know if I know.
I
I
like
want
your
you to answer
terrible
this.
questions. I like your
I always
questions.
think, who was the worst rapper you seen? Like, what was the worst moment?
Hey, yo, I'm gonna ask
Either
that.
worst performance or like, yo, he can't hold the brand. And wait, let me tell you why I say this, because it's not to
What?
hate on that, right?
Wait. Was it a qualifying standard? Not to cut you off, Badger. Was it a qualifying type of level of standard that you use to get even people on the stage?
Oh, there you go.
Great question. Great question. I'm gonna answer both. So it changed over time. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the beginning, it was just like, can you hold a mic and can words come out of your mouth? All right, awesome. You're great. Jump on stage. Then it was too many niggas who just could just have words coming out of their mouth, and we were like, all right, y'all niggas need a demo. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we shift from being an open mic to being a demo, we sent hundreds of niggas into the studio, and in a
Wow.
lot of ways, that actually kind of propelled the industry at that time, because a lot of folks at that time did not even think that they weren't even thinking about a record deal. They really was just thinking about being nice in the cipher. And then when they
Right.
needed a demo for us, then they was trying to get a demo for us. Then they were like, oh shit, wait, this same demo we can shop our deal with. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
then it started becoming like, oh shit, you know, not to say no one had aspirations, but again, when you're 16, 17, you don't think you're going to get a record deal. You just out here having fun with your friends, you know. But so it changed over time. Then it was like, okay, you got a demo, but the songs need to be good, you know. So there were a lot of artists that we made wait, you know, certain artists that had like super fast side flows when it comes to codes. It was like, nigga, you're great in the street in Westport Park, but on this stage, you need a whole lot more development and you need songs, you know. But by Drew, the worst MC, man, thank God
Right.
I don't remember them. You know, I don't remember them. But most, you know, look, the culture self polices. So if you see a gang of nice niggas on stage, like, you would have to be out of your mind to step on stage and not have at least half in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, half a skill in you. So most people, honestly, that got on stage was nice. You know, there were definitely
So
people wasting time, but most niggas
you
was
guys
nice.
had yeah. Pardon me. You guys had the night already kind of curious. Like, how? Because I can only
Yeah.
go off our model. Like, we had a list, so it wasn't even like I could just come and just jump on.
Yep. Well, y'all were probably
Right.
more consistent, so y'all even probably knew who was nice and who wasn't. When we shifted into a showcase, we had a little open mic in the beginning and a larger open mic at the end. And then we had a
Gotcha.
list of pre-selected showcases, right? But
Right.
the
Okay. There you
open
go.
micers really is the meat. Those are the niggas that's gonna pay to get in. So in a lot of ways, we use the open mic to get the crowd. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Because if it was just a showcase, nobody really wanted to see. Everybody wanted to see themselves on stage. So it was like, yo, we're gonna have an open
Absolutely.
mic after this, you know. And 4 hours later, you still had 100 niggas standing there, like, all right, nigga, where's the open mic? And I'm like, damn, y'all still want to do this shit? Like, all right, let's go
Right.
for another hour and a half. You know. So it was wild, man. It was wild.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that make a lot of sense that you guys had people already lined up to do, to do the main part of the show, kind of like, you know, um, already knowing what you're going to get, and not just like, throwing anybody up on stage.
yeah,
Which,
cause what we realized, like, if now we're gonna start charging, before when it was $5 to get in, it's like, all right, the show is gonna be what the show is gonna be. But if I need you to pay $15, and at that time, $15 was like, what? It's $15, So it was like a lot to people. We had to make sure we had a good show.
right,
Producers of the showcase show too long, bro. Like now we'll probably use three artists to showcase, give them 15 minutes, 20 minutes each. Back then we had 10 open micers in the beginning, then 10 for the showcase, 10 minutes each, then whoever's left on the open mic. It really was a 4-hour, 5-hour experience.
right. You had to make sure everything was down to. That makes a lot of sense. That's probably, that's good. That's a good format in my opinion.
Yeah, it was cool. But then you also had, I don't think people take into account, again, early 90s New York or early 90s West Coast. We all dealt with a lot of people who had mental illness. We all dealt with a lot of niggas who just came home, was like, oh, I could do that shit. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing that shit in jail. I could do that shit over here. And, to tell a nigga no with a mental health issue is the hardest thing in the world, And
Absolutely.
so, man.
Yeah, we did.
No,
Yeah,
I know y'all both dealt with that.
I know. Absolutely. A lot. Because
But we were helping them though, y'all. We were
and I
helping
was just
people
about to
that,
say that. I was
yeah,
just about to say it's like that was definitely part of like, like therapy for them to come through, and all of us want
hell
to,
yeah.
Like you said, see yourself, and not in the most arrogant way, but you kind of want to feel yourself, see if you got it, and just the whole thing. So
Yeah. The nigga probably didn't kill somebody that night. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
shit.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
got
why
it
I
out
asked
their
about
system.
my bad, go ahead.
No, that was it.
That's why I asked about who was the worst. It wasn't really about who's the worst. I think me and Jay had a conversation about this earlier today. It's like there's so much folklore around Lyricist Lounge, Project Globe, these other places like that, where you would go, you would think that everybody who rapped there was dope, right? And you would think, because especially like if you use Blow, for example, they got Please Pass the Mic. So you think, okay, if you can't really rap dope, you're going to have a terrible time because people are going to be yelling, get off the mic. But you know how hip hop is. Dope lyrically is not the only thing that's going to get you love on stage.
Yeah.
There's certain people who, like, we had Dr. Rap, a fucking 80-year-old Jewish doctor the guy that would come and want to rap every week, and people just are clapping for the spirit of what they know is going on. You know what I mean?
Hey,
Or
I forgot about that. That is, that's true. He
yeah,
was like
all the girls who come up there dressed from Crenshaw who really ain't in the underground, but this is a Mike's place. Or, they're not dope. They not dope, but if you from the culture, you understand the spirit of why they up there, why they came, and what they doing is cool for them. We not promoting you to be on none of the albums, but yeah, for sure, come rock out and you're gonna get a clap. I've seen some terrible people not get Please Pass the Mic for sure.
It's great.
No, it's so true. She
I
probably
remember
came in there with 8 girls, and they would all.
I remember doing Project Blow like 3 different times. And all 3 times, I think 2 times was at Lamert, somewhere else one time.
Yeah. What made you pull up? I'm curious, huh?
I think at that point, like, so when niggas started rhyming, it wasn't really about nothing else but just being dope. You know what I'm saying? It was like a stress relief from at the same time all the shit we was doing. And then as I started taking it more serious, rapping for the homies is one thing, but then going around other rappers, you know what I'm saying? It became different. So you start, one thing is rapping for the PJs, a rapping for the homies, a rapping for the Mona Parks, and then it's another thing, rapping for rappers. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And that became a more fascinating to get better faster.
What the
Glass. Let me ask you real quick. Sorry. Your part itself. I wanted to ask was like when you would go to some of the hip hop shit, like the open mic shit, would you kind of like hold back from telling you like your other niggas about it? Like, was that your own kind of private moment type shit? Because you were saying like you wouldn't get caught
Well,
dead in that shit.
nah, because it wasn't, like a lot of the times that shit would be on the same night as Crenshaw. Like, so, you know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't going there, you going to Crenshaw, you know what I mean? So I remember telling the homies once or twice, but it was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? People busy living the culture versus, going to listen to people talk about it. So it became something that I told them the first time, but they wasn't, you know what I'm saying, party with the PJ Crips, or, you know what I mean, or go to Project Blood. It's not even no chance. You know what I'm saying? It's like we finna go where the culture is soaking wet at.
Right.
Somebody
But
was
it
about
is
to
true
ask.
though. Like, it's true. Like, as far as like how all the other rappers were, like, versus what I was talking about, you know what I'm saying? It was different. But it was people showing you love. Like, you didn't have to kind of have the rap about raps. You know what I'm saying? It was cool. Like, if you was rapping about really all the street life in LA, and motherfuckers would show you love. I never forget, it was a cholo there, and he was hard as a motherfucker, man. He used to be getting off, and that was like super important for me to see, because he was really from East LA. I think he was from White Fence. And he came, and I remember the day we both was rapping there, and it was like, damn, this is kind of cool, like this kind of rapper fraternity type of thing.
Did the Lyricist Lounge have effect with different people around the city, like bringing different people, like from I don't know, like different sides of the city, from different
Hell yeah,
boroughs?
bro. Hell yeah. I mean, we were again, it was so different. Every showcase was different because we learned from the last. Like, all right, we ain't doing that again. We're not inviting them back. Because a lot of it was about. It wasn't even about the culture or the talent. It started to also become like, who can we book that's not going to bring 1,000 niggas who want to get in for free, who all got orange box cutter fucking blades and shit. Like, who can we bring in that's dope and not going to shut the club down? Because the element was so thick, that it just could easily get to that. But yeah, we brought a lot of people out, and one of the craziest events we did was that's the one that's floating around right now that Fat Joe keeps talking about, where he met Eminem. But it was like hosted by Joe and Big Pun, and it was the Outsiders. So we had Jersey with the Outsiders. We had Brooklyn, and not just Brooklyn, but East New York, Brownsville with MOP. We had Fatal Hussein, which was some Jersey shit as well. And then I think we had the Lost Boys or something, but we were just doing way too much. I don't think we realized until we got there what we did. You know what I'm saying? Because there aren't many events or anything where you're going to have the Bronx, the thick of the Bronx, the thick of Brooklyn and Jersey.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to know. Yeah.
And nothing pops off. I think that's what was special about it.
Yeah.
Like, and to Glass, some of what Glass was touching on, when there were gangster niggas in the crowd, they self-policed themselves, because the main gangster nigga was the nigga getting on stage, and all his other homies was in line, because you're not gonna fuck my night up tonight. Right.
And
So before we get in here,
and
we're gonna have a conversation about how this night is gonna go.
And much
And
love
so
to people like
yes, sir.
Ann and AC, like, that really been carrying, bringing niggas from the street into something that could be life altering for most people, and it really is. But like I was telling, I've had this conversation so many times. Like, the more I realize it's all street dudes. Like, it really came from the streets. It's all street dudes, and everybody else became a fan of it. But when I talk to her, and when I talk to a lot of the dudes, I talk to old spade niggas and shit from the Bronx, and different niggas. It's just, even Legs told me they were stick up kids. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yep.
it definitely, and
Right.
it is
Zulu
weird
Nation.
because, yeah, but you don't know that, because the
Right.
average nigga who swear they're a hip hop nigga is kind of like, this gonna sound fucked up, but I don't mean it like that. But they kind of goofy, so they like fans, so they really think they are what hip hop is. But I realize more than anything, hip hop is the dude that come from the streets, and the culture is the shit we talking about. So
Right.
a lot of people that
Yeah.
come from the background in the life don't never necessarily feel welcome because they don't know that
Mm,
all the niggas that started it is gangster niggas. They street
mm,
niggas that was committing crimes and running with packs of niggas and
mm-hmm,
surviving as best as they did. So
Right.
I had to go learn that. I didn't learn it until 2016, 15, 16,
mm-hmm,
17. I didn't really know what it was. Like, and then
mm-hmm.
I started figuring it out. Like, oh, okay. It went from me being feeling like an outsider to me feeling like an authority figure when it comes to what we talking about when we say West Coast culture. And so it
Right.
changed my whole. The more I talk to Hurt, the more I talk to Eric B, the more I talk to Crazy Legs, the more I talk to the OG Spade niggas and niggas that knew Mario and all them, you know what I mean, from out the Bronx. And I was like, oh, okay, these niggas is just like me. They not like bad. They not like, you know, they not like that. These
Right. They're
niggas
not
are just
active.
like me. Yeah,
Yeah.
they thugging ass niggas who found some way to express all of the same pain in different ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think, Ant, you hit it the nail on the head when you said earlier, you 16 at the clubs trying to be doing clubs. Like a lot of us, we just categorize, the gangster shit is like the people who was doing this, that, and the other. But when I think about the people I know in hip hop, all of them was the rebellious something.
Of
You see what I'm saying?
course. Of
And
course.
the gangsters who showed up to the rap shit was rebellious on the gang shit
On the
because they
gang
weren't even
side.
supposed to be in the areas that we was at doing the shit no way.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So I knew hood niggas who was like talking to other hood niggas like, why you be over there? And your excuse is gonna be rapping while you chilling in the 40s, so you can go rap with some niggas. You rebellious at that. So
Yeah.
it's a certain energy that we all was like, not that everybody in hip hop is fucking take some type of negative route, but in that
Yeah.
early area, you had to be an off the porch type of personality.
So you
Whether
That's
had to
you
my
went
do
out
that
the
shit.
porch to the streets,
and that
yeah.
point that's the point I'm saying. Like when it's in its inception, it was made for niggas that come from where we come from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm saying. So along the line, it's gotten to a place where people who just like rapping started rapping versus in its inception as an expression of people who were just like voiceless and ignored throughout mainstream, the mainstream experience. These niggas
Look,
presented
and
the
that's
first
where
way you could
not to
see
cut you,
what niggas was going through.
Yeah.
and just to add to that, it was brought by the niggas who was from there, and it was produced there. Like to get
Mm-hmm.
to it, you had to go through shit. Like who the fuck was going all the way up in the Bronx to these fucking parties? You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
That's crazy, right? Because when I went there, dog, like it was like even right now, the Bronx is like one of those places in New York that's super fucking New York.
Yeah,
It
that
ain't
shit crazy
it
right
ain't
now.
like Brooklyn where I hang out is gentrified, but like in the BX, it's like for
Oh, they
real, like
cutting up
fucked
over
up.
there.
Yeah. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And I love it. So you're right. And that's the best thing even about being on the West is that Leimert Park. Leimert seemed like this kind of easy
Right.
scenario that you get yourself
But we
fucked over. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
yeah.
So I think
Till
that's a
them street
super
lights
important
get
thing.
on.
And that's what I'm saying. Like you don't know that, and I think hip hop sometimes does a bad job of not making the streets feel welcome. You know what I'm
They
Mm-hmm.
saying?
separate us. I mean, it's part of the music, the industry. They kind of divide. It's a little division in there for whatever reason, but it's not necessarily the case. But they push certain things forward, certain things to the side, or make them like.
And that's what I love about meeting Eric B and Herc and really getting the time to spend time with them. They made me feel like super welcome. Like I never got like gangster rap and hip hop. It was like, nah, nigga, you are a hip hop nigga. You feel me?
Right.
If you care about what's happening, nigga, you a hip hop nigga. It don't matter. He said all of us, niggas told me straight up, like all of us was gangsters too. Like we was all doing the same. She was running with gangs, we was committing crimes and all
Mm-hmm.
that. Then we found another way to earn a living. Feel me? So
Exactly.
it really, I never knew that before. You know what I'm saying? Because it always seemed you hear the term gangster rap, like we all rap about, this lifestyle that we grew up in that's influenced where crime kind of has like a centerpiece, and then we rap about how it affect our lives. You always had people that was observing it early on, but then you had people that became the participants. But it was the
Mm-hmm.
same niggas that lived next door to each other. It's all the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I
I mean,
think part of it.
that's
Go
the whole
ahead.
Black American experience.
Yep.
That's all of us.
Yep.
I mean,
Part of the
from the
challenge
beginning
now,
to
though. Part of the challenge now, though, is like, and I love this conversation, right? Because where we're at now is really just we got to get back to what it was, where everybody's allowed to be who they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's not gonna be a part of the crime family. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not. Oh, you shoot my brother, and now I'm not gonna tell somebody, and if I do, I'm snitching. Everybody's not in the life. Some people are actually still civilians in this shit. You know what I'm
But
saying? And
but
in a
it's
lot of
weird that
ways, the
it's weird you
culture
say that, Ed.
got took over
It's
by drug
yeah,
culture.
Ed.
You know what I mean?
But, but but what's
Go
crazy,
ahead.
and is that's how it is in our same community. I don't know where did that become a real thing. It's certain people we would never sell Sherm in front of their house
Right.
because they would call the police, and we not finna. My older homies, or even when I became of age, we not finna let you trip on Miss Johnson, no matter what happens.
Right. Right.
Nigga, don't sell drugs.
That's her set.
So again, I think what's happening is it's not really people that come from, like AC said, people that, because we all come from the same place, whether you're a criminal or not. We all come from the same place in hip hop, right? We all come from that same gutter, that same
Yeah.
place. So I think what you having is you having an infiltration of a bunch of people who don't understand that, and then they think they have to abide by the rules of a specific side of it. But I think it's because those people don't grow up in this place, so they talking about snitching and terms and stuff that don't
Right.
even fit their life. But
Right.
that's because in general, this is gonna sound even more prejudiced and biased. Hip hop don't fit their life. To them, hip hop is just a bunch of rapping and wordplay and bragging. It's not really that expression for those people that was ignored. You know what I'm saying? And this is kind of a place that I've been talking about for the last like 3-4 years and standing on it. So that's why you get those people and that feel like, well, I need to not snitch. Nigga, you're not a criminal. You have
Exactly.
nothing to do with crime. So I don't even know why would you even. I tell people all the time, why are certain people even using the word snitch? If
Or
you got a cubicle
shaming other
space,
people. Talk about other people snitching and all that,
well,
like egging
I
it
get
on.
it. I get it if you are a fan of the culture, right? You like, okay, you supposed to be this, but you told. I respect that because that shame should come with it. That's the point.
Right.
That's what
Right.
snitching is all about. It ain't really. It's about accountability and shame. You don't want to walk with that shame. So if you saying you a part of this life, I feel like everybody should shame you. But only if you are saying you are a part of this life. It's weird when
Right.
you got people who grew up in suburbs and feel like they held to some kind of standard. They ain't never committed a crime. They ain't lived nowhere where crime is at. None of the above, but they feel like they want to live by the same standards I live by. That's just stupid. Because for sure, if I grew up in Beverly Hills, I'm not fucking with nothing these niggas is talking about. I'm not
Shit,
paying by none of them rules.
watched
I am calling the police.
I just watched this nigga T Grizzly YouTube video. This nigga's in Bora Bora with his girlfriend. He ain't once he learned he could make $250K a month on Twitch, this nigga's out the game. And that's the thing. Like, I just feel like, and I don't want to talk bad on anybody's lifestyle, because I get the street shit, especially somebody kill your cousin, now you in the game forever, right? You on Get Back Street forever. But there got to be some progression in what we doing, or we all going bad, right? We all going bad, we all going down. So it's like, what I like to sit in the middle, because I know, look, we're African people in a lot of ways, and we're aggressive people. You won't know that till you go to Nigeria and realize how aggressive we are as people, and how much okay that is. But we live
Man,
in a
but even
country that's
more,
telling us we're not supposed to be. So I
but
get it.
even more,
Mm-hmm.
more than that, and like we try to make this like this exclusive to us. Like East LA is the same thing. It's certain white places that's the same. Hell, look at America. Last year they went and bombed some man that was a part of the Taliban over some shit he did in 2001. They held
Right.
that shit the whole time, and then they went and got the motherfucker. They did a drive-by or a fly-by. They got the motherfucker. Feel me? Then they did a whole news
Drone by.
conference bragging about it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Then they
Yep.
bragged about it. Oh, if you
I
fuck
felt
with
bad
us,
about
it's
that
on.
shit.
I think
Yep.
it's so much masculinity at
Yeah.
times where it's just, and that's why I won't let people exclusively give that to us. Me and Bad talked about, I won't
I
let
agree.
people give that to us. It's
I
about
agree.
masculinity. We want to hold each other accountable at its most primitive levels, and even in that situation at its most elite levels, where there's billions of
But
dollars, all
Those
this
are
shit.
key words right there. Key words.
But the real deal is that there's a puppeteer collective. There's a puppeteer race around this whole thing, right? And at some point, we got to overstand what's really going on and strategically opt out of what's keeping us in the situation we're in. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how bad it is. We got to figure it out because it's getting worse. It's not getting better. It's getting
Well, I
worse.
think
Yo,
And
that's
now the
why. I
music.
think
And
that's
now
why.
hold on, real quick.
That's why people like you and AC. That's why y'all important because
Hard
y'all
shit.
figuring it
I
out for the
love
niggas
hard
that
shit.
can't.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I'm
and
saying that's why what y'all do is so important, and because y'all figuring it out for niggas. Because that's really what we supposed to do. Like if every nigga individually figured out, there's no reason to be a collective. So that's why it's important for you and the brothers that's doing what they supposed to do to keep doing it because as you turn on more brothers, they could do it for another 100 brothers. And the
Yep.
more brothers that
Yep.
can do it for more brothers, that way it is a collective. Because if we
But
individually can
Glass, so
all make the
I
decision, it's crazy.
need you too though, nigga. I need you too. Because at the end of the day, like what y'all doing, the power that you have, the power that the streets hold, what I'm saying? It just needs to be tweaked, bro. And we got everything we need. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they don't want. They don't want us from both sides having these convos. But we having them anyway. You know what I'm saying? So shouts to Badru, shouts to behind the scenes, shouts to this whole shit because we really get into the crux of what's powerful about our culture is that everybody could sit at the table and we could figure this shit out. And now the challenge is just getting the table. So we working on the table, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
and really
yo,
bring all the
so
people to the
Build the
table
table.
and
so
have the
Build
and
the
convo.
so
table.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
here's the question I have for you,
Yes,
and
sir. Because
you my
look,
brother,
last
bro.
words on me, and I gotta run. I gotta eat. My mom sold weed for 30 years. Shout out to Mama Z. She sold weed through Brooklyn for 30 years. I worked hard to get her to stop. You know what I'm saying? So on some street shit, that was my street introduction because mom
Hmm.
sold weed to the nigga who sold weed to the nigga who sold weed to you. You know what I'm saying? But I saw her, you know what I'm saying, going through who wants their mom to obviously on some street shit, it sounds cute and all, but like I don't want my mom doing that. You know what I'm saying? I knew one day some bullshit could happen, and one day it did. Came home, she told me, oh, this dude that she thought was whatever, they tied her up, tied her and her friends up in my crib. That was the last day I had it for that. But all while I'm working on the lounge, going to meetings, MTV, this, that. Mom is the original sponsor holding down the lounge. You know what I'm saying? While we making $20 nights. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm just bringing it to the surface because we are we are from where we're from. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, this is a powerful culture we have, y'all. This is a powerful
Absolutely.
culture. I don't care what we call it. This is a powerful culture. And, our job is just to make sure the next generation is good. We all talked about not being passed the baton right. Oh, what did the older generation do? They didn't even pass on. Okay, so now it's our turn. Right? So
Yeah.
now it's our turn. So, Lyricist Lounge Dow, the Bars Token, Proof of Vibes, all of this shit that we're working on. Y'all definitely hear more about it over the next couple months, really.
Yeah, and we're gonna set up some stuff, and just so we could talk about all the progressions that we leaned into, like what's going on with the DAO, what's going on with NFTs, and all that space that's curated specifically about that. I'm glad we were able to have you on this call. I always think it's important to kind of review our impact on the culture that we all a part of. But a big part of the bigger part is that we talked about the history, but we leaned into what we're going to do next, which is kind of how all our Twitter spaces and group conversations need to go from BTSN and just from all of us as creatives. And me personally, I love it because this, even though we all been in hip hop forever, it's hard to catch a Glasses, a AC, a John Robinson. Just what we say the separation is, it's everywhere and it's all the time, and we all kind of indulge and engage it on our regular, tour through hip hop. But when we set up more spaces where we all the unusual suspect of characters is all on the call talking about each other and sharing knowledge, it's always mind blowing. It's always something that we need to go further into, and the stuff that you're talking about. That's how we're going to have success. Is with that we do it all together, kind of in conversations like this, and turn them into action. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, you the glue,
So,
by Drew.
Yeah.
man, yeah,
The
we
Yeah,
all
glue.
I
part of
enjoyed
that.
the conversation, man. I enjoyed it a lot, man, and learned a lot. Hopefully, conversations like this will continue.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, we
sir.
definitely gonna slide back in with a part two. BTSN, what's Lyricist Lounge impact on hip hop culture, featuring our man Ant Marshall. We thank everyone for coming out tonight. We definitely gonna try to slide in with a part two tomorrow. We got another show stepping up at 8 o'clock. We got another one at 8 o'clock. Tune in. Check BTSN Twitter page for that BTSN pass. Follow us now. Yes, this is what we're doing. What's Lyricist Lounge impact on hip hop culture? Thank you, Ant Marshall. Thank you, Glasses. Thank you, John Robinson. Thank you, AC Alone. Thank you for showing up. We really appreciate you. And get something to eat, bro. And we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.